Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. I'm making this video today because recently I've had a lot of people contacting me regarding tramadol addiction and the nightmare that they're in and they can't get out of it. And as it's something that I've had past experience with a few years ago now, I want to pass on some information you may or may not know, some advice, and to give you some hope that there is a way out. But it's one you've got to be careful with because tramadol, and I'll give you some more information about the drug itself in a second, is not a drug you can just stop just like that if you're a bit addicted to it and you're taking it in any quantity or for any long period of time. If you followed my channel, you'll know from my story that in my early 40s, that was my first brush with opiates, if you like, when I first got addicted to opiates. I was always alcoholic, always a drinker, but it wasn't until my early 40s that I found opiates, and they straight away became my drug of choice. It started off with pills, hydrocodone, stuff like that. It moved on to morphine sulfate tablets, and then it was on to smoking of heroin. That led in record time the disintegration of my life. And please have a look back at that, if you're interested on my life story. It goes into more detail there. It ended up with me in rehab, and it ended up with me on Suboxone maintenance treatment for a couple of years before I got rid of the opiates out of my life, if you like. It wasn't until about 8 years ago when I first came to Spain. I'd just had my hip replaced in the UK, and tramadol is a drug that is prescribed fairly routinely for moderate and severe pain after operations, particularly in the UK. I mean, it's prescribed for other reasons, back pain, stuff like that, but particularly after operations. So I'd been given, after a long period away from opiates, I've been given these tablets after my hip operation. Came to Spain and immediately found, as most addicts do, that they were on sale over the counter. At that point it was legal. It's no longer legal in Spain to sell them over the counter. But then you could buy in any quantity you wanted to, cheaply, tramadol, just like you could buy paracetamol and ibuprofen. There's a recipe for disaster for addicts. Gabor Mate says that the definition of addiction is the craving and taking of any substance or behaviour which gives you temporary relief from the way you're feeling or any pain or trauma, that always leads to negative consequences and the hurting of yourself and other people, but that you can't stop doing, still crave and repeat over and over again. That's a good definition of addiction, I think. And that's what I found particularly more than any other drug, I think, with tramadol. Tramadol is manufactured in a laboratory. It's a synthetic opioid. It's not direct from the poppy like codeine, or heroin, that type. I won't call them pure drugs, but pure opioids, if you like. It's manufactured same as fentanyl is manufactured in a laboratory by man, basically. And it's manufactured to bind to the opiate receptors in your brain the same way as pure opiates do. But because it's synthetic, it also has a double whammy on your brain. It has an SSRI effect on your brain, an antidepressant effect on your brain. So it binds to other receptors as well. It stops the production of dopamine and serotonin and all of these things. It replaces them from a point of view of what you feel when you take it. More than any other drug, it gives you, that I've taken personally, it gives you a feeling of being wrapped in cotton wool, warm, safe, if you like, that feeling. And that temporarily takes away, and the word is temporarily, takes away the way you are feeling inside or the pain you may be feeling. But not only that, it gives you a massive burst of energy. It's a weird feeling, and high mood, obviously, with the SSRI effect. And you become dependent on it extremely quickly. It's one of these drugs that just keep taking and taking, you know, and it wasn't long before I was buying these drugs in. And I know people that have started off slowly on these and are abusing repeat prescriptions, then buying them online, and it happens rapidly. I mean, within 7 to 14 days, if you have a tendency towards this, you'll be fairly addicted. Then your tolerance level and your dependence level will rise and rise and rise and rise. You'll find you're taking more and more. I was taking large quantities of tramadol. I mean, if I'd have, say someone off the street had been taking my daily amount of tramadol, they'd be dead. It would stop them breathing. But the same with alcohol. When you're drinking a couple of bottles of vodka a day or more, your tolerance levels build up and build up and build up. And it becomes normal. And then you're just taking these pills to feel normal, just to stave off withdrawal. And literally would be a matter of hours after taking a quantity of these pills, that the feeling of dread, dysphoria, sweating, anxiety, the need to take more, the craving, because the old feelings were coming back 100 times worse and multiplied. Because, as Gabor Mate says, it's temporary relief. It always is with addiction, isn't it? Temporary relief. And then all your problems, all your worries, all your fears, that massive hole inside you comes back to haunt you, except it's much, much worse this time. And things are much, much worse. And you've caused so much damage around you and to yourself, not just to your health, but to those you love, to your job, to the people that surround you. Damage to everything you touch, because you can't control yourself on these things, you know. And money, you know, literally every penny being spent on that, on tramadol. I remember not eating because every penny was going on chemists. Chemists not serving me around here, even around here, because they kept seeing my face and obviously got wise to it. So having to go further and further and further afield to get the drugs. Awful, awful nightmare. You know, it really, really was. But the worst nightmare of all, I'm afraid to say, is actually coming off these things. And this is what people that contact me have a massive amount. It's difficult enough to come off alcohol, which I've done. That was bloody hard. To come off opiates, I needed Suboxone, it was bloody hard. Awful withdrawals. But the thing about tramadol withdrawal is that you get all the symptoms of an opiate withdrawal. All those horrible, horrific symptoms, the sweats, the shaking, the nausea, the feeling of dread, everything that comes with the pain all over your body, the total lack of energy, not being able to move. And this goes on for a much longer time with tramadol, I found. This lack of energy was a thing that I could hardly move. The thing is with tramadol is that you can't just stop it. You can't go cold turkey on tramadol because there's too much of a danger of seizures. So when you decide to stop, first of all, please look at my videos on tramadol withdrawal and opiate withdrawal and alcohol withdrawal. They're all on this channel. There's a lot of them. They will tell you how to prepare, how to get ready for it, set the date for it to give yourself time to do it. And what you'll need to get in to prepare for it, to make it as comfortable as possible for you, which it won't be comfortable, but you know what I mean. So if you decide to stop, there's two ways you can go. I would always, particularly if you've been on them for a long time and are taking more than a prescribed dose, which nearly everyone is that contacts me, please see a medical professional. Let them organise a taper for you. The best way to come off tramadol there's two ways you can do it. One is to taper extremely slowly under supervision. So the doctor just prescribes you a tiny bit less each week, which is probably the best way to do it. So 7 days at a certain amount, drop a little bit, another 7 days, drop a little bit, another 7 days, so on and so on and so on. Or you ask the doctor or a drug clinic or wherever you live, and you will get help with this because I did. And don't be ashamed, whatever your situation is. Like, I was the manager of a very big hotel and restaurant in the area, was well known in the area, but I still had to queue up at the drugs clinic and get my Suboxone. And that's the other route. You take a maintenance drug, Subutex, Suboxone. I would advise those two. Suboxone's the best one of the two because it has that dose in it of naloxone, which means that you can't abuse drugs really on it. You know, you won't get any effect as such. It'll make you nauseous as well. So Suboxone was the best way for me. So they're the two ways you can go. Don't try cold turkey. But to give you some hope on this, now it's been a good few years since I've taken Tramadol. It was the best thing I ever did coming off that drug, because it was leading me down a dark path. I've had a relapse since. I've well documented it on this channel, but that was with alcohol, and you know, that was a long while ago now. So, you know, these things happen and we learn from our mistakes and we move forward. We don't feel shy. Well, I certainly don't anymore feel shame or guilt. I just dusted myself off, learned from it, and started to move forward again. I've continued to move forward with the extra measures put in place that I talk about on this channel, the support, the help. But please, if you're in a situation with Tramadol now, ask for help. See a medical professional if you can. If you want to try taper yourself, that's up to you. If you really don't want to go and see a medical professional, but you need to do it as I suggested, over like a week at a certain dose, and are very difficult to cut up Tramadol pills sometimes, I think, depending on how you prescribe them. On the whole, you know, it's like alcohol, isn't it? Tramadol gets a bad rap, but the drug's there for a reason. And it does work for the pain. So if you're being prescribed it for pain and it's helping you with the pain, then don't let this video put you off. If you're abusing it, and you know if you've got an issue around it, because you're probably in a nightmare like I was. So stay strong, my friends. Keep moving forward. Please click the link in the description and help move the channel forward if you can. I really need your help with that. Have a read. It's just underneath this video. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe and like. Much love to you all. Carpe diem. Seize the day today.